rainy, dreary, miserable night here in Kansas City. Weekend is supposed to be clear but cool. I have Friday off. I hope that Friday starts clearing up. I don't want to be dealing with this. I might be trying to go to Warrensburg on Friday. There's a place there called Cafe Blackadder, and it's a restaurant slash tea shop, and it's in where the tea house used to be, the successor to tea house. Blackadder was the maiden name of Peggy Means, who owned the tea house from 1969 until she passed away. When was it? Oh no, 2007. 2008. I have to look at my video to, Alzheimer's. That sucks. I think it was 2008. Because that was the year I got my first HD camera. And I remember shooting her wake at the tea house in 2008. And the place had been intermittently open and closed. And I was visiting Warrensburg. It was in, when was that? I believe it was in December. And every time I went by the tea house, I'd go by there when I go into town. Every time I went by there, it was closed. So I was just like, I'll go by and see if figure out what's going on with this place, if it's open or closed or out of business or what. And I went by and there was a whole bunch of people. The whole thing was lit up. It was wonderful. So I went in, and then Sandy, Peggy's daughter, recognized me, and she said, "Hey, Steve, I'm so glad you're here. I don't know if you knew this, but Peggy passed away." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that." It was not an unexpected deal, because she had been not doing well for quite some time, over a year. And so I shot video of the wake, and that is on YouTube. All you have to do is look up the tea house. Teehaus. And then I think it went on for a little while after. No, it only went on for about a month after that, and then it was everything. It was shut down and then reopened as Cafe Blackadder, and I should know her name. But when it reopened as Cafe Blackadder, the next time I came and visited, I talked to the new owner of the new business. I mean, the building is still was, I'm not sure if it still is, owned by the Means family, Peggy's daughter, and I think her husband Wayne lived a little while after she passed on. I mean, Peggy, that is. As far as I know, Sandy is still alive and well. And oh, there's a critter. Looks like a possum. Certainly didn't play possum. It's too wet to play possum. But Cafe Blackadder is this wonderful restaurant, and it specializes in naturally, locally grown, fresh stuff. It's not a slogan. It really is a real deal. But I don't know what's happening. There was an announcement in Facebook saying that it's closing. Its last day of operation will be in the middle of November, like November 12th or 13th. And so I've got to go in and visit the place, make sure I visit it before it goes away. You know, this stuff happens. Everything does have a lifespan. But I have been given no indication as to why it is shutting down. Somebody standing on this, and the poor dogs do not have raincoats on, so he does. That's why he's wearing dark clothes. He's wearing a but I do have ties to Warrensburg, Missouri. I went to college there, and when I joined the Air Force, Uncle Sam saw fit to send me right back to the base where I worked as a co-op student, which was Whiteman Air Force Base, and that's 10 miles east of Warrensburg. So it's like I never left. I went to college, then I went in the Air Force, and was military for 4 or 5 years, and then I went back to college after the military, back in Warrensburg, from like 1984 until 1996. I took my time. I understand from the legends, the stories go that it was started by this dude, kind of a surfer dude. He was trying to remember if he was from Seattle or if he was from the area and lived in Seattle and then came. And the story goes that he drove around in a which was a type of Jeep that they no longer make. But back in the 60s, the surfers loved them. Them and Woodies. A Woody is like a wood-paneled station wagon. Wow. A video was just one of my people I'm subscribed to, somebody I worked with at Channel 4, and
screaming and banging on the door. She advised me to know who the female is, and that the elderly female is usually being taken care of by a male party. There is a photo sedan, unknown color, parked out front as well, with its lights on. It's a minute.
Oh, that's interesting. Where was that at? But back in the 60s, this like from 1966 on, this surfer Seattle dude, he came to Warrensburg with his girlfriend. His girlfriend was going to college in the university there, the State College. I really call it a university. And he opened this little Seattle-style coffee shop, and he got into some sort of trouble, and I don't know what the rumors are, if it was drugs, or there's sort of a funny story that he he used to travel around with his open top Jeepster. A lot of Jeepsters were convertibles. And he liked to go to estate sales and auctions, and he'd load up his Jeepster with all sorts of interesting stuff. And he had this big dog in the thing all the time, like his companion. It was his Wookiee. And then somebody decided, oh, this stuff looks interesting, was thumbing through it and not paying attention to the fact that there was a dog sitting in there. And the dog went and became a good watchdog and attacked him. And the person decided to sue, and so the guy skipped town. But the drug story is probably the more probable one. Probably got in trouble with the local law enforcement team from the West Coast. Facing being shut down, and Peggy Meads, her husband Wayne, was Air Force, I believe, or maybe he was other military. But they traveled around when, with him when he went from base to base, and then he was working at Whiteman as a contractor, a painter, I believe, and the local police came up to Peggy and said, you're a housewife, you have kids, this place should stay open. Why don't you, keep it open for the kids so the kids can have somewhere to go and stay out of trouble. And so she did. And she was a Scottish woman. And one of the things that she hated about America was that you could not get a decent cup of tea prepared in the proper way. So she opened it up as a tea house. It served coffee and fine teas, and for longest time, you could get tea from her from all over the world, and everybody shipped, she had it shipped in, and so a lot of us bought tea, and then, in the 1990s. One of the things that the proper way of fixing tea is that you have a porcelain pot covered with a tea cozy, a hand knit yarn tea cozy that she would knit herself. And back in the early 90s, in the era of grunge, people were into their flannel and wearing their stocking hats. And one of the people there said, "Hey, Peggy." Like, he took the tea cozy and he put it on as a stocking hat, and it fit him, even though it had a hole in a funny place and your hair would stick out. And she was like, "Well, I can make it fit better. I'll knit you one. I'll knit you a hat." And he said, "No, knit me a tea cozy. That way, whenever I go to places, people ask, why is there a big hole in it? Say, well, this is actually a tea cozy." And so he started it, and then a bunch of us started wearing tea cozies as hats, and it was kind of our thing. I am recovering from this nasty cold that I caught from the youngest kid who brought it from school. Obviously, we went out to the pumpkin patch about mid-October, and noticed that Luke's nose was running, he was coughing and sneezing, and he was feeling crummy. But little kids, they just power through it. They have to be really, really, really sick in order for whatever to knock them out of the running. And that's bad, because what they do is they make their colds worse by not getting proper rest. Well, guess who's very susceptible to catching that stuff? And I catch all the crud from the kids, and then when I get it, I don't recover as well. And I went a couple of days where my nose started running and I started feeling a sore throat. There's that one day I felt really, really crummy. It was a Friday, and I called in and I slept solid. and when a whole lot better. But I still have the runny nose and the stuffy nose and the coughing, and I thought about getting the big beerfluenza test. But here's the crummy thing about that. That's not as easy or convenient as people make it out to be. They offer it for free and go through their websites. So I kind of gave up. And then I was like, yeah, but you know, the first 2 times I got this test, they made me quarantine for 14 days, and it's ridiculous. And it's just a cough and upper respiratory. I didn't feel anything going inside my lungs, or like I couldn't breathe or anything else like that. The only reason I was having a hard time breathing was when I was sleeping and I was stuffy in my nose. But that's not lungs. My lungs feel fine, other than cook. I shall listen to that. I won't head to it immediately. And directions. Navigate. Open Google Maps. Open. Don't ask me a million questions. That is North Spruce.
5 on Wall 84, Bag 36, 8 Trip 15, 501 West 107th Street, apartment 315 on Wall 84.
Now crossing over into Independence, Missouri on old US 40. A very, very, very depressed version of Route 66.
Mary Charles, Boy Edward Tom Henry, first name Whitney, William Henry Ida Tom Nora Edward Young, white female, 811 of 87, 081987. You can show us today all have wrong notes. They were just having a dispute over relationship stuff. They agreed to keep it down for the remainder of the night. And the 96-year-old now lives in a living facility. It's just the male party's outcome.
Oh, okay.
Copy 400.
Call 64 with 1042. 1264 is there on the Sure. medical on 2020 East Jackson Drive. Across from Schoolwood Parkway, South Jackson Drive. Carlo 59 10 Alonzo.
Dixon's Chili. Harry Truman used to eat Dixon's Chili, but when he ate it, it was the downtown location, which no longer exists. Dixon's Chili had a little bit of success, and they were spreading for a while. I think that's the only one left. I think there was one at Lee's Scummit. I'm not sure. Not sure if it still exists. I don't think it does. There's a few road almost literal sense of the term roadhouse, and I believe, I'm not sure, that the south side of 40 Highway is Kansas City. Independence is a very conservative town, and from what I understand, it is very hard to get a permit to open a bar in Independence. Pretty much have to be grandfathered in, I think, is what I've been told. I could be wrong in that, but I was always told that. Oops, the mattress laying in the middle of the road. Now, there's a lot of bars in them, but there's no straight bars. I haven't heard anything on that Spruce accident. Crash. Police call them crashes. They don't call them accidents.
Number 6 and 6, EMS 39, First Street, on a diabetic, unconscious,
They don't refer to them as accidents because they say that most of them are not accidents. They are completely preventable. That somebody is usually being inattentive, or people in a hurry or whatever, so they call them crashes.
Stop. Okay. Anyone on Bow Right shoulder before 26th Street? Gonna be on a white Jaguar. Plate gonna be Tom Henry 2K1 George. Tom Henry 2.
A white Jaguar?
Copy operation. Got you on C106.
I'll turn my actual radio scanner here on, and it's in a bit once it's charged up. The charging on it does not keep up with the energy consumption of it. And so if I leave it on, even with it plugged into the cigarette lighter, it will discharge the battery. It seems like some of these phone chargers, or these 5-volt chargers, USB chargers essentially, don't really keep up with the energy consumption, and it's almost like you don't have it plugged in at all. I've watched some things, but I'm sure it does. The draw on the battery, but if you run certain apps on your phone will, even if it's plugged into the cigarette lighter, will go dead. We almost bought one of those cars in 2004, Mitsubishi Lancer. And at the time, they had a reputation that a lot of people were buying them. A lot of kids were buying them to customize them because they could be made, and there was like a really souped up version of it. But essentially, it's a cheap car. I don't know. I've seen quite a few of them on the road, running strong. So for a cheap car, I think it was probably made pretty well. But my brother-in-law drove an older version of a Lancer for years. I was not impressed by that thing. It was pretty much junky. And it was a family car forever, and they drove it on the rough Philippine roads, and that thing kept going, so. You know, every so often I show independence some love. Even though it's kind of out here. It's got a fairly decent access to the highway, so that even though it's sort of out on the eastern edge of the metro area, it's kind of if I hear something on the scanner, I can get on I-70 usually and be there within about 15 minutes or so. This time of day, there's no traffic, so. I remember that was a Jiffy Lube right there on the right, and worked for the other TV station. The car broke down on us in a really bad snowstorm. We had to go in there, and they could fix it. They were able to fix the problems. I think it was something like a windshield wiper and something else. I was amazed. That was the old Chevy Blazer. When I got it, it had about 68,000 miles on it, which for a 2000 Blazer wasn't bad. I got it in, what, 2000, 2004. Tool shed looks busy. Speaking of roadhouses. And had 68,000 miles on it, which is low miles for a 4-year-old news vehicle. And then I added, I think when it was taken away from me, when I quote unquote was traded up, it had 130,000 miles on it, which is still low. And then one that I got was a newer, it was a Trailblazer, but it had I think it had 90 something thousand miles on it. Not much of a trade up. Although the Trailblazer had a nicer ride and more room. I ended up becoming very impressed by Trailblazers. Other than they don't get great gas mileage, they have a straight 6-cylinder engine, which I thought was odd. Because they started making Trailblazers when in 2002 they started selling them. Replaced the Chevy S10 Blazer. And the Trailblazer was a completely different vehicle than the, I think GM and Isuzu worked together on the Trailblazer. And it had a all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive combo system, which I'm not even sure General Motors offers anymore, but that's actually something that Isuzu and General Motors worked on jointly, and Isuzu was pretty much owned by GM. It was a joint ownership between GM and Subaru. Together, GM and Subaru made Isuzu. At least back then. But then I think Subaru bought out GM's share of Isuzu when GM was no longer interested in having subsidiary. They went bankrupt, basically, throughout the 2000s. They went bankrupt in 2001, matter of fact. And then they went bankrupt again in 2008. And don't quote me on all that. Yeah, they had to be bailed out in 2008. Because I remember the executives got themselves in trouble because they traveled to Washington to beg for money, and they all flew in high-end executive jets. And they were like, you're going broke, and yet you're maintaining this fleet of private jets. It was bad for their image. But that's when I think GM sold off everything. They got rid of Hummer. They used to own Saab. They got rid of that. Saab, I don't think exists anymore. They had half ownership of the Isuzu. They got rid of that. And there was technology that I think maybe Isuzu still have that General Motors used to share, and now I don't think General Motors has access to it anymore. I'm not sure. But, you know.
39 by 39, 4,700 inches on a 684.
The thing about cars is if you're wrong about something and you get your facts wrong, somebody with glee correct you. I'm a rail fan too, and you know, otherwise known as a foamer. The slightest inaccuracy in railroad history and trains and all the what do you call it? All the little details and facts and everything is very intertwined and intricate, and if you get one little thing wrong, you will find out about it. Usually in the most disrespectful, nasty way. Which, you know, I don't care. Sometimes I like to slip in inaccuracies in some things, just to, you know, in a sense, make fun, satire of these people who spend their entire lives learning all this useless information. I mean, there's stuff that foamers would know that railroaders don't know, and I think that's part of the reason why they are called foamers by railroaders. the annoying little things. You can tell I don't consider it a badge of honor to know all this stuff. I know way too much useless information. Nothing is ever really going to help me in life. I still have some books down in the basement where it's called The Train Spotter's Guide to Kansas City. And somebody wrote these books. They also did one for Chicago, and I'm sure since that time they've got them for other places as well. And essentially it's all the places you can go to watch trains. And there was another book with you. So every time you see a locomotive, you open up this book and it's a reference guide to what the locomotive is. And it's not only that, the whole history of the locomotive, like when it was built, when it was rebuilt, how much horsepower, yada, yada, yada. And in the book, it talks about, well, you know, this book will save you from having to count louvers. Yes, it gets that ridiculous. People will sit there and go, oh no, it's got 3 louvers instead of 2. I don't even want to begin to try. Okay, our spruce thing is nothing. Probably just a fender bender. You notice that we don't generally go on the very first call because you will end up zigzagging all over town on every little call and wasting a lot of time and gas. So we just kind of patrol and hover and wait. And actually, I'm going to find a place to park eventually. Yep, that's probably our fire department returning from that call. In service at 119. I was thinking of going 210, but no, I should do Independence Avenue, as I always do. Not that we're going to see a whole lot, but I'm sure that if any toad is out this late at night, she's probably pretty desperate. I feel for these girls, I really do. Their lives are, you know, I give respect to the work that they do, and I should not, you know, if people hear you say that, oh my God, they're terrible. Well, I'm you know, casting all the morality or immorality of it aside. Women doing it quite oftentimes because they have to do it. Oh, I don't know. I do not know. Hi, Mark. I found out about that 2 days ago I saw John Pepitone at a live shot, and Don Proctor told me, and then they said it like, so I was with my reporter, and he said, and he looked it up for me, and he sent me a link. There's a link online. It's Mark Alford's Army. Look that up. And apparently, he says in his intro to Alford's Army that, yes, I left Channel 4 after working there forever all of a sudden, and here's why. I'm a conservative, and it's really hard to be a conservative in the news business. So I think he did it for religious slash conservative reasons, and he's now running his own charity called Alford's Army. I think maybe he retired and it's just time for him to retire. And he wants to do his own thing, and and he felt that from listening to his words, he felt like it was too constraining to be involved in the news business anymore. But I don't know, you can go online and look it up, and I watched part of it and then kind of went, oh, okay, I think that's why, and so I watched like the first part of what he said. And Charlie, the reporter I was working with on that day, said, oh yeah, it wasn't like a sudden, like he just quit in a huff or anything. Oh yeah, if you know Mike Thompson, he retired. Actually, it was quite a few years ago now. And I always liked Mike Thompson. I thought he was pretty much open-minded. He was very generous with his time. He liked to talk to you and stuff. But everybody knows his politics were on the conservative side, and I think I never knew what ever came of it, but I think he was running for city council. And what city did he live in? I forgot. I was going to say Overland Park, but I don't think that's right. I think it was something like, it was either Leewood or something like Roland Park. I can't remember.
670 off ramp and Broadway, Mondale, Leewood, 83, number 25. 670 off ramp at Broadway, Mondale, Leewood, 83.
But I say more power to them, whether or not I agree with their politics or whatever, And if people don't know, the rules for people who work in media are different than the rest of the people out there. If you work in media and is in an on-air position, you can't really take much of a political side. Although everybody, like everybody else, we all have our political ideas. What's that? LS? Lee Summit? Well, I know.
Maybe believes that it's possibly stolen vehicle is coming back on their hot sheet. It's located south of Milford, Kansas, Kansas, and it's very short for him.
Sorry, I'm listening to that scanner traffic. There was a although they said they got a person of interest on that one. There was a homicide, and now there's a stolen car there. Yeah, well, there was a former manager in Channel 4, lived in Lee Summit, and she has since left Channel 4, and I'm driving through my old hometown, although I don't claim it anymore. I haven't lived here since, 1986. Graduated high school, Fort Osage. Now I'm on Independence Avenue, US 24 in Independence. I was just on a little philosophical, examining the philosophical implications of prostitution, which is illegal. How do I live in Mo? I don't know what you mean by that. Was Mo worse than Kansas? Or is it? Or maybe we should ask, is it better living in New Mexico? Because I like New Mexico. We were talking to my sister the other day about, my sister just traveled Route 66, and she said, oh, I love Santa Fe. And Suyen said, yeah, there's some neat stuff in Santa Fe.
935, police on scene. 2005 people with an overdose.
We were trying to remember how many times we passed through
935,
Santa Fe and
D Avenue. Police on scene of an overdose.
I remember we went visited you, and you took us to that press club in Albuquerque, and I remember it was in October because we were talking about ghosts and stuff. I think it was in October. Does that place still exist?
I'm not sure the name of the auto plate training. When a car block out, parking political car. Trying to take it around 70 plus. Yeah.
I don't know. Missouri is one of the places that's yeah, I was watching a documentary on Amsterdam, and one of the window
3835 Broadway, station police on overdose,
I'm trying to remember what they call themselves. Window women? Women who work the windows? I think that's what they call them. She had those stickers everywhere. Sex work is... Oh, she had it on her t-shirt that she was wearing. Sex work is work. And I consider that type of work... there's a whole range of what can be considered as sex work. Everything from working in a porno shop all the way up to the full Monty, I guess. Yeah, it is very beautiful, and it seems like there are a lot of areas where people are...
Number 24, Medic Clarity 3, 4551 Chelsea, on Seizures, 3.
People do really, really well, you know, live in really nice homes in the mountains, and then there are people who live in shacks everywhere. Matter of fact, I remember at the time we were on the train, you've probably heard this story, I'll probably tell it again. When we were on the train, and there was a guide who got on the train passing through western part of New Mexico, and he was telling it, you know, he was a Navajo, and he was telling us about all the, you know, different things, and when he got on this thing about the architecture of the native, and he said, yeah, you know, and we made our houses out of mud, and then the Spanish came along and added straw, so that created adobe. And just as he was saying it, we were passing by a whole bunch of junky mobile homes, and I kind of blurted out, oh yeah, and I see what the Americans contributed to architecture in this area.
Police on scene, 7601 Prospect, in detention on a wall.
I think, when was it? Probably about 1973. We went on a cross-country trip in a 1967 Chevy Biscayne, family trip. And we visited places like Grand Canyon and stuff. That may have been when we traveled across country. I don't know. I can't remember anymore. But the mobile homes, easier and quicker. And, well, the upshot of the story is we visited all these historic sites, and it's like, places like Grand Canyon and stuff. And I remember going and visiting like rock shops and everything, and places that displayed snakes, and I'm like, we must have traveled Route 66. I must be remembering Route 66 back when it still kind of existed. Because I know one of our trips, we went to the Petrified Forest, which is in eastern Arizona. And what brings up that memory is Nob Hill in Albuquerque, because I remember that from the 70s, traveling through that area. So what's the weather like there? Here it's rainy and 54 degrees, which, as you know, in the mid 50s when it rains like this, it's not a very comfortable rain. If there was anything open, I might stop. There's nothing open but convenience stores. Kansas City has never mastered the art of the all-night coffee shop. I don't think anywhere has. And with the nice rain like this, I doubt if we'll see anybody walking the streets. Normally you can go west of here and you can count it's sort of hard. It lives here partly because of me. What's that? Yeah, dry for months. If you go and you see women walking the streets, you can assume that they're doing a certain something, but you can't always assume that, and sometimes it's it's bad to say that. Oh, Route 66. There are people who have had a lot more to it than me. Thanks for the compliment. I have to say that, but the president of the Missouri Route 66 Association, his name is Richard Dinkla, but he goes by Roman Rich, and he paints the Route 66 shield on the highway so that people can try and follow it all the way up and down the route. Matter of fact, the funny thing about that is he does it, and he could get in trouble for it, but I don't think he does. I think people just kind of look the other way because they see it as a positive thing. But man, I tell you that the Missouri Highway Department is very against that kind of thing. They do not like anybody. They want to control the signage, which I guess I can kind of understand, but they're very it's like pulling teeth to get them to recognize anything as like a historic byway, or And there's been kind of this war going on in Missouri between the Route 66 Association and the Missouri Department of, what do they call it? Missouri Department of, well, the Highway Department. Because they're trying to save a bridge, and the Highway Department has been throwing a lot of obstacles at them, or so they, but I'm sure the Highway Department say, well, yeah, well, those people haven't been cooperating with us very well, so I don't know what's going on. I just trying to take a middle path, seeing both sides of it. I'm sure if somebody watches this video later, they'll comment. It's sort of like the, wow, there's a lot of water in the road. Sort of that somebody disagrees with. I was going, despite the dignity or indignity that many people view a certain type of profession we've been talking about, you can't always assume that every woman you see walking on the street late at night around here is doing a certain activity. This bridge here is notorious. There's a lot of trucks that try to make it under this bridge and don't make it. You see, it's a battle-scarred bridge. Phew. I smell sewer. Stinky. And it looks like they're taking down all the old federal buildings down here on Hardesty. No, I think I've honestly given as much as I could say about that. Were I still working at a certain TV station, I'd probably be a lot more shy about saying things. I don't work there anymore, so it's just speculation. I didn't even know that it had happened until what was it, Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday? Can't remember anymore. Tuesday live shot. When I talked to the reporter I used to work with, John Pepitone, I used to work with him every day. And he was kind of busy, he couldn't say much, but they did bring up the whole thing with Mark. And that's the first time I heard about it. So then Charlie, the reporter I was working with on that day, looked it up and sent me a link. So, and the link essentially is Alford's Army on Twitter. Just look up Alford's Army and you'll see a video, and I think he basically says why he left. And but you know, like I say, he's retirement age, and we've always known that his politics were pretty much on the conservative side. He was never shy about that. There were a lot of times he would say something on the air as an anchor, and a lot of people would kind of raise their eyebrows, like, you can't say that on TV. Let it poorly kept one, that he was a very, very conservative. I believe, if I'm right, I've worked with his wife, Leslie. Gone out and done stories with her, and she's a really nice woman. And I know that, I believe they're Catholic. And Now, if somebody wants to correct me on that, they can. It doesn't make any difference to me. I just say that because I'm Catholic, and I know that in the Catholic Church, there's a very evangelical, conservative branch of it, usually along the lines of the Jesuits, or the real hardcore, old school. The church that my wife and I go to is Redemptorist. Yeah, Mark, but you have to agree that you've met his wife too, and you actually like Leslie. Everybody likes Leslie. I can't say one way or the other, and that's one thing that I wouldn't say one way or the other. I am surprised there are some women walking, and I can kind of tell because they're looking at every passing car like, hey, come on over to the car wash. Get a sense about these things. But I've never worked with Mark or done anything with them long enough to really have formed an opinion one way or the other. I only worked with him a couple of times. Generally, I was doing a live shot and he was, on or something, and he was always pretty nice with me, so I know that sounds like I'm copping out, but I've had a real hard time in the past dealing with my own anger, and my own anger has places, and I've learned that we now have kids, and we're trying to teach them that anger only just makes things bad for you. So, and that's definitely, and you probably know this because you've seen how angry and impatient and depressed, miserable that I've been in the past. The same person. I'm like I think I'm like a drug addict. I'm a recovering angeraholic. When I finally decided to do some positive things about my own internal issues, and I don't know how to say this being on the clock sensitively, but I'm concerned about the direction our country is heading in, and my own personal politics, although you shouldn't really discuss it that much, is I'm probably a slightly left of center moderate, but I'm definitely, and I can kind of see people pulling this country, and I don't think it's a great thing. I would say Filipino women get. Women from and the missus is
she walked back downstairs on her way.
the woolen blanket is very in my father chair, using it to because my junk is all on top of it, which Suyan is always after me about. I'm getting this network connection. Now, is T-Mobile. Like they're a sponsor or anything. They're not a sponsor. We pay them for our... I wonder if I've reached that 50 gigabyte cap yet. That's the reason I only broadcast on Thursday morning. I imagine you come to a couple of times a year to visit. But if you've made it to your old haunting grounds of Westport, places like that, but it's definitely different place than what it used to be. Yeah, oh, the little notice just came off. It said that my internet connection is no longer weak. I always say that my internet is my internet provider is T-Mobile. T-Mobile likes to remind us when we are using too much of their bandwidth. You know, their unlimited internet, which is capped at 50 gigabytes. If you exceed or approach, even approach exceeding their limits, then they let you know that they're going to start slowing you down. The skipping should probably be done with for a while. I know it's a real pain in the butt when it does that. Makes it hard to watch. Oops. Give us a Thanksgiving. Oh, Thanksgiving. Well, I was saying that if you go to Westport, you probably might not recognize the place. I don't know how long it's been, but the hurricane.
29, 55, 35, Sean Avenue.
What they called it the riot room. Used to be the hurricane, is no longer. And it looks like they're trying to do something with that lot and redevelop the whole thing.
Can you do, we have another phone message, I think it's a CIT call. It's going to be for Christian Llewellyn. Party CIT, very evasive about giving the address. So we did a phone message.
Matter of fact, I think I shall
You do have previous phone messages for this party, the one where you put about, it's about he was just
turn around and head that way. It's about that time.
got it.
Boy, I can't say I've never been on this street. Don't even know where I'm at. I'm in North Kansas City somewhere. Yeah, the dash cam video is a byproduct of the iPhone. This amazing camera. And the device it's actually streaming is the iPhone. I have the iPhone 12. I mean, a device with 4 built-in nice cameras. Yes, please. Yeah, the hurricane, I'm not sure how recent it is because I haven't kept up with it. But the hurricane is, well, the riot room is no more. I don't know why I keep creeping up on this light like I'm going to go through it. There's some sort of, there's a fence around the lot. You can't even park there anymore. And there's something along the lines you're going to redevelop it. And knowing the way Westport has been going lately, they'll just go ahead and flatten everything. It doesn't matter if the old brick buildings go back to Davy Crockett days. Or not Davy Crockett. What's his name? Daniel Boone, but not really Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone's family. Let's just flatten everything. You can tell that's something I'm very opinionated about. They took down the old Westport Bank building and built loft apartments. They took down the building on the corner that at one time hosted a Starbucks and built a building that looks just like it. And there was a bar that went in there called Hepcat, which sounds like man bun territory. And it lasted well until beer flu shut everything down, and now it's gone. So now they has no fingerprint. The iPhones used to have that. I remember I had a fingerprint. Well, maybe I'm thinking of my other phone that I had when I worked at this place that shall not be named. A fingerprint was kind of cool, but it could be a pain in the butt too, just like, you know, having to type in 4 numbers or whatever. Now everybody wants you to do double authentication for everything. Pretty soon it'll be like you have to contact your armed security just to use your phone. Yeah, I'd like to make a phone call, please. Alright, let's follow the Jefferson Highway. I always turn here because this is technically the Jefferson Highway. Which I'd still like to take Jefferson Highway from Winnipeg all the way down to New Orleans. But when you have little kids, if it doesn't have major touristy something to it, they're not interested. Although we've taken them on some very interesting trips. They haven't been on the whole of Route 66 from Chicago to LA, but they've been on large portions of it. They've been from at least Uranus to town in Arizona with the angel of the route. It's supposed to be the model for the movie Cars. I can't remember. Duh. But of course, you have to take your kids to Uranus. Let them explore Uranus, as we like to say. You know, and then they can get some fudge from Uranus, and what other inappropriate things can I say? Although it sounds like I'm talking like a boogan. If you look up Uranus, Missouri, you'll see all those things. I don't even begin to cover it. Uranus is famous for the Uranus Fudge Factory. Here, we took her up. Restaurant. I remember the bar covered in broad. Up there, but take it off in the oh yeah, apparently, I know I'm skipping left and right here, but apparently this is a dead zone right here, because this is where it went out the last time we. Towers on the Missouri River. Ah, okay, I should not be skipping anymore. We got out of the dead zone. Missouri River apparently is a dead zone. There's no cell towers there. You were saying that I was killing you with that Uranus stuff, but when you go in there, they say that they always yell out when you go into the fudge shop. They yell out, "Welcome to Uranus," and then when you leave, they say, "Thanks for picking Uranus." Let's just say that the kids love it, and when we get there, my last video, I think, the kids go, "Oh, I know this place, we're in Uranus, hooray!" Jokes that we could say on video. Oops, another dead zone. Delaware must be. All right, it's back. Downtown should not be weak. Well, my poor cell phone connection is lost me my audience, of course. Whoops. Downtown is not a place where you can get good T-Mobile connection. I mean, there's only a T-Puck in the middle of town called T-Mobile Center. I wonder. I'm going to try it. I wonder what the internet connection is like next to T-Mobile Center. Used to be the Sprint Arena. Actually, it was Sprint Center. You know, they very carefully worded it to make it sound like it's the center of Kansas City. But everybody just called it Arena phone service. I don't need, which is usually at 0, of course, with me, and I don't even. Well, my crappy internet has kicked in again here in the Power and Light. So we're gonna make a right turn or left turn up here, and next to the T-Mobile Center. See how our T-Mobile Mobile Center. How many times can I say T-Mobile Center? Here it is, left at the theater. And there she is, up ahead. And no internet connection. Power and Light District across the street from the T-Mobile Center. There's even the T-Mobile store over there on the right. I will even drive around the T-Mobile Center. There it is. It's back. All right, reprieved.
Fire alarm 1325 on Road.
Bob says he hates me for my cell phone service.
Sharp 1, number 2, respond on a fire alarm at 1325 Odd Fellows Road. Lock detector full and sprinkler flow at Joseph.
Can I? There's nothing that says do not enter, but that doesn't mean anything. That car was giving me kind of the look. 13th Street. I believe I'm probably going the wrong way. Yeah, I am. Am I going the wrong way now? Oh no, this is Oak. Oopsies. T-Mobile Center. Oops. Dang it, this car has a thing, if you hit the brake too hard, it kills the engine. You know, it's to save gas. Here's another one of these really confusing construction areas that doesn't exactly tell you where to go. But I'm sure there's plenty of people who can tell me where to go. Well, approaching T-Mobile Center from the west, it died until I got to the T intersection at the T-Mobile Center. Ha 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 ha. And then it came back. No, I had a GoPro 7, which was very unreliable, and it quit on me. It was still under warranty, but it was under the really crappy warranty where you have to mail your stuff in and everything else like that. And so I mailed it in to like this third-party vendor who did the warranty work for either GoPro or I think it may have been Nebraska Furniture Mart. And that thing was such a piece of crap that I haven't been really crying about it. And GoPros are known for that. Apparently the GoPro 10 is supposedly better. But I'm not a fan of GoPros. I'm a bigger fan of DJI. I have a DJI Action. DJI Osmo Action, and I have the DJI Pocket 2, which used to be known as the DJI Osmo Pocket, but they've decided they don't like the word Osmo anymore. And I use the Pocket. It's got a wireless mic. I got the Creator. Got a wireless mic that works really well, and it's very stable. The video quality is very crisp. Some people say, well, if you have an iPhone, why would you use anything other than the iPhone camera? And I'm like, I haven't had the best of luck. I mean, I use the iPhone and stuff, but the stabilization and everything doesn't work as well for me as it does for some people for whatever reason. I really love my Pocket with it all the time. And we've lost. There it is. It's back by Union Station. Which way do I go? Right lane must turn right, so I must be needing to go on the left side of this thing. Oh. Okay. Alright. Yeah, I have a Blackmagic, what do they call that? 6K Pocket Cinema. It's not. It doesn't fit in anybody's pocket. It's pretty big and heavy. And something has gone weird with the touchscreen, so I may have to contact Blackmagic and see if it's still under warranty. And I've been meaning to try and upgrade the firmware and everything on it. I've had bad luck with cameras. My Sony mirrorless camera is acting funky on me too. I just have bad luck with anything that has anything to do with electronics or mechanics in general. Our heating, ventilation, air conditioning, our heater in the house gave out on us. We had to sell one of the children into slavery to get the heater to work again. That child will be missed. Oh. The camera probably didn't work anyway. That's probably why they were getting rid of all that stuff. GoPros are really unreliable. I don't know why they become the other name for action cameras, because they're horrible. I wouldn't even get the 10. The only thing that's good about the GoPros is their quality. Video quality is okay, and the stabilization. But they've been horrible. Their app is the worst. I couldn't get my app to connect to my camera at halftime. The Osmo, or the Osmo Action, it connects almost every time, and when it doesn't connect, it's not a big deal. But I mean, nothing ever works 100% perfectly. But I don't have that many problems with the DJI, and they've come up with the Action 2. They've just released it yesterday, and everybody's going wow, wow, gaga over it. And I'm like, so does that mean that the Osmo Actions are going to go on sale, the ones? Because if so, I might see if I can pick up 2 or 3. I'm looking at the new Action, and I'm like, I don't really want it. I like the old one better. And if you knew where to shop, you could get the old Action for $199, or you could get it for less than that when they had them on sale for a while. So you're going as cheap as $150. Whereas the GoPro is about $500. No, thank you. Not for something that you can't even get it to record half the time. And I also ran into this thing with the your stuff. There's nothing on the card, even though it acted like it was recording. The red light showed up. You know, it's just horrible. I still have and I don't know why I got it. I don't know for the life of me why I got it. A GoPro. It's the GoPro. It's supposed to be the 360 camera. It works like crap. I don't like it. It's so low resolution. I don't understand what they were thinking. I got the 360, and you know, every one of these, and I guess I'm a sucker for it, but every one of these companies say that their camera is going to be the end all and do all. You won't have to buy another camera ever again. You'll use this for everything. No. I got the 360 because you can do this weird low-flying drone thing with it. Yeah, I had the older generation GoPros. I think I gave that one away to my nephew for Christmas present, which he didn't like or appreciate. It was like the first 4K one.
On for 600 to 1325 Oswald Grove, the winery. That's what you.
All right, here is Chessport.
Where you at? At Delta side. They're on the 3rd floor stairwell on the Delta side. There's a party up there. First advised, once the alarm's going off. It really
I usually say how much they've been tearing everything down, and I'm betting that the developers are eyeballing the old Hurricane building. They're probably planning it because you can see they got this lot over here. They're redoing or whatever. But I wouldn't put it past them to come in and rip the building down and then put up a building that looks just like it, just new. Oh, Westport's pretty lively right now. I've gotten hot taking my jacket off. I can't do it, even though it says it's 52 degrees outside. All right, let's find out. Am I truly having problems with this camera? Oh, there you are. You're on Facebook now. I can see A1 next to Facebook.
We have 100 feet of money inside the building. Can you do what you can to get a little bit of money associated with this business? These guys send me a business card before this business. It's Charles Wilkerson, so that they have permission to take their scraps from the factory.
It's working. I don't understand this thing. Why did it not work yesterday? Yeah, there you go. Focus, everything.
Company vehicles that are sales in the area. The door number 1 does look like it's opening 2 or 3 inches. The wind may have bit, but I don't see any other activity in here.
This lens must be really sensitive to. And what do they plan on doing with the riot room? Are they going to tear it down? Oh, that's what we need. Another sports bar. You know, there's no more, as far as I know, there's no more music venues in existence in Westport. Your brother's old haunt burnt down, Davies, but I went by Davies last week and I noticed somebody was working on it.
Engine 1 stage for PD, EMS 1118, Southwest 5th Street, across the Southwest Robinson and Whitetail, step 159 YU.
Agency 50 and 1118 Southwest 10th Street, Oak Grove unit.
I wonder if that's a shooting. Yeah, we don't need a sports bar. We need a venue.
1118 Southwest 10th Street. RP's advising 18-year-old overdose on fentanyl.
Oh no. Overdose on fentanyl.
10th Street.
Well, I thought all the bars shut down at 3, and it looks like they're all closed down now. Yeah, I saw some workers working on it last week, so I think the judging by the way they were working, it's going to be a long, drawn out process.
The person standing again that's standing there, I'm waiting for.
If they rebuild it, will it be a music venue, or are they gonna? Is there some other sports bar chain gonna buy it and turn it into like?
The business card for Charles Wilkerson was Robert Clifton, who also has a Riverside Municipal warrant that I was going to see if you could confirm. I'll attach it to the call. He probably was with him.
That was a really nice stop there.
Adam Boyd had this. Where you came from, buddy? Awesome, Bradford.
You know, Westport and I have a history with the terrible driving habits of people here, so I feel uniquely qualified to comment on it. I don't like to walk around Westport that much anymore. That woman that owns it, is it still the same woman? Is that Debbie? Was that her name, Debbie? I guess she was the daughter of the original owner of the place. He owned it going back to the days when it was a speakeasy. It's a little more something happening here. There's people walking around.
Got that number? Go ahead.
That is 622-4189. That is 622-4189.
Copy, thank you.
Company line route.
Who are gathering in the street, and there's a car trying to get through, and people are just slowly moving aside.
Robinson and Whitetail, that 159 White Young. PD en route on an additional overdose. I did send a
On the 27th, he texted your party and advised him that the services were no longer needed.
Oh, okay.
In the truck.
What caused that fire anyway?
And then if you can let me know what Riverside responds with as well, please.
Okay.
Okay, that's 226.
Let's get that. Next time I can see what comes out of it.
Copy, just one more again.
All right. I don't know what's going on here.
I do want to like that.
And you want to go ahead?
go see white rabbits running out in front of your car. Don't hit the accelerator. There's the green room, still exists. All right, where is the lovely security people when you need them? I'm ducking and covering because I'm thinking these people over here are yelling at each other. And in Westport, doesn't usually take long for there to be yelling to when the bullets start flying. I don't want to be there when there's bullets flying. I don't need to capture that stuff on video. We all know what it looks like. Oh, there's somebody talking to himself. That's why, because I can't tell the difference between people shouting at each other and people having a little party. Here's the intersection where you get run over.
Currently active, they are unable to exercise this time due to COVID restrictions. Guys, when we separate.
Why is Westport so shut down? I thought it doesn't shut down till 3. Maybe it shuts down earlier. Was it 2? Yeah, I know that the trajectory of bullets can, they're such bad shots, they won't hit what they're looking at, and they'll hit you instead. Even being here about a quarter mile away and around the corner, you still worry. You can ricochet. There's 2 cars, they have their doors open, and they're across the street from each other, and these guys gathered in the street. And I can't tell if they're having a good time or if they're yelling at each other. And naturally, there's no security to be found anywhere. I just saw a guy kind of walking up the street, and then he was like ducking behind pillars and stuff, like he was afraid something was about to happen. So, and it's like, I could call the authorities, dial 911 or whatever, but I don't know what's going on. So I just wish there was a number you could call and say, hey, can you just come and check on this, make sure, do a drive-by, be a deterrent. Right. I wonder if hanging out in front of a place called Shot Stop is such a great thing. Yeah, that's. I guess that's a fear. I don't want to be a Karen. I don't want to be like.
Hopefully.
And for the record, I was so far away and the headlights and everything, I can't tell
Those parties have unloaded all the items from the unload.
who or what I'm looking at. Whether it's men, whether it's women, black, white, green, yellow, red. Who knows?
10-4, 234.
It could even be those Civil War ghosts. It could be the ghosts of Confederate and Union soldiers still walking around here.
Hammer 314 service returning. Hammer 314 service returning at 2:35.
Well, we live in a society where it's easier to get a gun than it is to get mental health care. And in some cases, it's easier to get a gun than it is to get health care, period. Yeah, last Saturday I was supposed to go walk from Luce Park to the John Warnell house. They say anywhere between October 20th through the 23rd, actually 21st through 23rd. But I think on the 23rd is when you're supposed to be able to see the ghosts walking around, the Civil War ghosts. Because between the battlefield where the Confederates were finally got their asses rightfully kicked, and the John Warnell house is where all the people were walking back and forth, because John Warnell house was used as a headquarters / hospital by both sides. I'm taking it personally these days because there's so many neo-Confederates walking around who want to start the Civil War again. I'm like, you know, why do they want to start the Civil War? Why don't they just go join the Russian army? That's who they're working for anyway. Putin. And speaking of Putin, I gotta go visit the bathroom pretty soon.
That's okay, thank you.
You mean the band Nerdvana?
We checked the office space and we're walking through the shop right now. Mobile lighting motion activated. And he said that half of the system's working, the other half isn't. And some of the lighting should not have been on, so we're just walking through to make sure that we don't have any unfortunate.
Yeah, and the Confederacy was such a great thing, quote unquote, making air quotes here, that even people who lived in the Confederacy didn't want to have anything to do with it until the 1920s. You can, if you don't have a scanner, you can try this app called
238.
Radio Scanner or Broadcastify. My scanner is taking its sweet ass time charging up. Scanners are very expensive now.
Two Boy, 3 Charles, Lincoln 3 Charles George 8 Boy Henry 566809.
Yeah, 350, if only. Try over $1,000, $1,300 for just a handheld. And yeah, that's the disadvantage. There's one disadvantage. And there's something else going on too that's making scanners kind of not a good value, and that's a lot of police departments are encrypting their signals, and I don't know why they're doing that.
Is your neighbors associated with that?
I could think of one reason why, and that's because the police put out people's personal information on the radio. Like, I hear them all the time talking about the reporting parties, and then they'll say, and their phone number is, and anybody listening to that can get somebody's phone number, name, and number, and everything pretty quickly. So that's one good reason, but it sure is inconvenient for those of us who want to know what's going on.
Now we're just clearing the building. Mike's inside resetting the alarm. Can you show us some service?
Service 42.
Well, part of me is wondering if it couldn't have something to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, and here in Kansas City, they would say that they call that the TAC channels, tactical channels, and And this guy is like walking funny.
No, your 2008 Chrysler Resolution.
But I knew some people who got access to the tactical channels and could listen to them on the scanner.
314, 510, 435.
I remember being able to listen to the Vice Squad channels. They were setting up the Johns for arrest. They would run prostitution sweeps. Okay, I think there goes one of the cars that I was worried about. Oopsies, that was weird. Usually this thing just drops right off. This time it decided to slide down the window. Oops. I put a lighter weight mount on this thing. Plastic, it's all plastic now, so maybe that's why it didn't pop off like it usually does. I hate these suction cup mounts.
Anyone available, med 1, 239. Sounds like 12 on. There we go.
Being terminated is Joanna Neville and West Trans 41 non-emergency St. Mary's at 245.
Oh, there's some popo. I guess it's safe to approach that corner now. Ha 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 ha. Yep, nobody's here anymore. Yeah, they have those cars. They have the cameras on the back. I was gonna say on their trunk, but most of the police now drive SUVs. And the technology in those cameras. When did we drive around with them? That was back in 2006. And I'm sure it's only gotten better. But they can read license plates. They could go down the highway 100 miles an hour and still read license plates. They could be in the rain, whatever. And instantaneously get feedback into whether there's a warrant out or if, you know, there's our popo. He doesn't have cameras on his car. But you go to the really poor parts of town, like if you go out in the suburbs, you know, that thing would rarely go off and tell you anything. But if you go to the really poor parts of town, it's like bing, 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 like every other car. And you could clog up the courts if you tried to arrest all the people with illegal plates. And it's just a shame. Because, you know, I'm looking at the intersection where I was run over, and the guy who ran me over claimed he had insurance on his car, and he didn't. I don't know, maybe they should set up, I don't want to call them kill zones, but like these areas that are like a trap, and funnel a lot of the people in and just have a court set up, and you know, and if they want their lawyer, they'll have lawyers standing by, and and just process them all in, just as a deterrent. Because you know, the thing about cars is that it's the number one way you could really round up the bad, violent type of criminals. Now, the problem with it is it's also a way that you can pick on poor people. I don't know. I don't have an easy answer. I just have a bad opinion, I guess. But a lot of these things that people do in cars that are illegal, for the most part, it's harmless kind of stuff, but it's not necessarily so harmless when, you know, I guess I have a personal beef with it, having been actually run over by somebody who, you know, I guess it's very, very common for somebody to get their license on their car, get their car all legal, and then call the insurance company up and say, cancel my policy, until they need to get their car legal again. Kind of makes it a joke. And I know a lot of the really bad car chases, which I'm surprised I haven't heard one yet, because usually overnight you hear at least one. They're hard to catch, but a lot of the car chases usually involve somebody stealing a car. And a lot of times when people steal a car like that, they're up to doing something else with it other than, you know, just running from the police. Yeah, and there was something I was watching on YouTube last night talking about that, saying that most speed traps are just there for raising revenue. They don't have anything to do with safety, public safety. As a matter of fact, it detracts from public safety. It's just there to, you know, like you go through a town and the highway goes on the edge of town, and all of a sudden the speed limit drops from I remember the last time I got caught up in one of those was Argenta, Illinois. It was a U.S. highway. Yeah, they're doing that here too. They're told they're to disengage if it's if they're gonna kill somebody, and that's a good thing too. But I don't know. You know, there's the one side of me says you can use automobiles as a means of choking, of interdicting violent crime. But another part of me says that all you really end up doing is making poor people's lives harder. But I don't, you know, I think there should be a law made that you cannot raise revenue. Yeah, there should be a law that says you cannot raise revenue, that law enforcement cannot raise revenue, that law enforcement should be always done at a loss, that if they make $1, they should give $100,000 back, and the cities cannot use speed traps as revenue. Essentially, I think that they should take the money and put it in a big pool like the federal government and then distribute it out. Yeah, they should not be able to have like a thing where you get a traffic ticket and then they use it to raise money. All that money should be turned over to another agency, like the federal government, and then redistributed that way. Yeah. Yeah, that is the very definition of corruption. Whenever you can take law enforcement function and turn it into a commercial enterprise. And in many ways, it's the number one way that poor people and black people are getting shot by cops. Traffic tickets.
Possible CCA.
And some of it's even as ridiculous as people getting parking tickets. It also encourages a lot of horrible, inefficient practices like automobile-based development. Well, I think I should go visit the, like I say, I started talking about Vladimir Putin.
Chewing around from 930 West South Crooked Road. 63-year-old male having a stroke. Difficulty breathing, doesn't have a history of strokes.
History of strokes.
39th Street South, East 41st Street South, corner 135, 255.
Let's see. You know, I don't like going to the gas stations. Like there's one on Main. I would say it by brand name, but I don't like going to the gas station on Main because it's a huge hassle, if you know what I mean, where you're being accosted when you go in and accosted when you go out, and you go into the bathroom and somebody's essentially living in there, which is uncomfortable. Kung Fu tea.
Could you be interested in the medical from 87 92 Highway 92? Supposed to be for Donald Burrow. He's having problems with his foot, and he's being scared of the hospital to get checked out and get the blood work done.
Yeah, there's an effort now, a movement on to take money away instead of spending it on equipment and things like that, spending it on mental health services. And I believe that there should be in every police department a mental health unit, because a great deal of what they deal with is mental health issues. And police are very poorly equipped to deal with mental health issues. Police will tell you that themselves. They hate dealing with mental stuff, and they have to all the time. Yeah, me too. I'm gonna go visit the Putin pot. I'm gonna say hi to the dictator. Turn off those loud inverters. Always got batteries to charge. Yeah. Noisy inverters.
Northeast Spokane Place. 6012 Northeast Spokane Place, Montana is employed. Made for a 37-year-old female. Feeling ill at 318.
Three Bay 533, 7100. Eastwood Traffic Way, station for police on a shooting at Ford. Car 120, Harbor 33, Meg 533, 7100 Eastwood Traffic Way, station for police on a shooting at Ford.
7100 Eastwood Traffic Way. Oh, what's happening? Gonna check out a stage for police on a shooting, which usually means nothing. Scanner is strangely silent.
Hurricane Place, 6012 North Hurricane Place, Martin B as a boy.
Because it magically turned itself off again.
Kansas City, they advised that now Freddie was feeling ill. That's 300.
If I can figure out this maze. Where's my chingies?
660 or 10 I was waiting for parents to arrive for a few more to announce.
Gonna take a Ralph here. Oh, that is so weird. The stage for police calls do not show up on Pulse Point for some weird reason. So if you don't hear the initial call,
Two Damon Bar out of Kansas City, certainly.
you won't get it.
29 degrees. General, thank you. Go ahead.
225 with 29 back, respond area 12 Missouri Court on a service.
Thorough disturbance.
Calvin, number 400.
Now 326. Gonna be coming from the area of either 1220 or 1240 Missouri Court. A male party screaming, "Help me," repeatedly. I believe it's coming from her building, hearing screaming and "please help."
Hmm.
Calvin.
Missouri Court. What kind of address is that? I'm gonna put this on mute for a second. If I can figure out how. It's in the settings. Where'd the settings go?
Chili.
Good. Edward.
people wandering in the blanket or neutral zone. Neutral zone. I had to turn the mic off when I make a phone call. You know, not to air my dirty laundry on for the world to smell. Saying that so far on these kind of calls, I've struck out every time you hear one of these stage for police on a shooting, go to it and find that it's unfounded. Nobody's, or maybe I might see a bored police officer driving around. That's it. This car has the crazy radar thing. I think all the new cars these days have it. Where when you set your cruise control, it will keep you in the lane, and if somebody hits their brakes in front of you, which don't count on this, it'll slow down automatically and stop, and after a certain amount of time you can still start it and go back to your speed, which is really cool. However, I must be a very squirrely driver, because that beeping you hear is it telling me that I'm not staying in my lane. Beep, beep. Actually, I don't know what that beeping is. The beeping that yells at you is a different sound than that. But you can take your hands off the wheel and the car will drive itself until the little thing saying, hey, put your hands back on the wheel comes on. But like I say, you know, like that that pilotless car that from Google, that I think it was Google, maybe it was Tesla, I can't remember. I think it was Google, where the guy was watching movies when he was supposed to be watching the car, and he ended up running over a female jogger. Yeah, that's what this is like. It's like, don't. At times where, is this car going to stop itself? And I have my foot on the brake and I'm ready to go. So I don't ever sit and let the car try and drive itself. But there will come a time when that technology will happen. And who knows, there may even become a time where human beings driving a vehicle will be outlawed. Here is Clint Eastwood Traffic Way. I bet you it's these apartments over here. Oh, it could be, there's a trailer park here too. Don't see anything yet. Also driving around the witching hour, I don't always trust that people are going to stop when they should. That's against Yah freedom rights. Violating my rights. Why are you fighting against us? Well, because I'm fighting for my rights. I'm quoting the movie Gettysburg, by the way. The Northerners like, you're what? My rights. Well, we're here, we're queer, get used to it. And looks pretty boring to me. There's a Church's Chicken. there's a looks like a guy is very suspiciously looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? I'm going around through the closed Church's Chicken drive-thru. I'm positioned almost on top of the red dot, and I think it's trying to tell me that the shooting is at this gas station here. Ooh, here's Lake Church's Chicken. It looks pretty deep. And yes, people look very excited for there to be a shooting here. Yeah, it's pointing right at this gas station. The only thing shooting around here is my mouth. Off. Pretty typical. Although that was the stage for police, I haven't heard anything on the scanner. Then, you know, it doesn't help the scanner's probably turned itself off again. Yep. That was stage for police area, so I need to peruse. My theory was that if there was a shooting here, it might be in these apartments, which I think I need to turn right to get into them. And if I remember right, these apartments are gated. So good luck to me. Yeah, I'm not completely used to how, why it happens. Is this gated? If it is, it looks like the gate is open. Shuts all of a sudden, cuts my car in half. Or it shuts behind me and locks me in here. Ooh. There's a mountain out of a molehill speed bump. This shooting location is real close to what used to be the Mast Ambulance headquarters, which I believe is now, since the Kansas City Police Fire Department's taken it over, I believe it's now the KCFD Medical Services headquarters, but nah, I don't know. There's some security looking guys hanging out over there, probably wondering who I am and what I'm up to, and get off my lawn. We're on, I won't say what I was about to say. Man, these apartments go pretty far back here. I don't remember this. But if those are like on-site security and they're just not they would be patrolling the shooting location if there was one. So, that was weird how that. There must be something wrong with that light. The light flick.
Georgia. You have this Martha Huckleberry?
Stop.
Call it in the I was called in passerby.
Ooh, spooky orange lights means Halloween.
Strawberry freezer. Say Josie.
All right, well, good luck at the courthouse. I have patrolled around here. I don't see. Normally, it would be painfully obvious. Yeah, see you later. Painfully obvious if the blinky lights go on for a long ways. And I haven't seen anything, so canceling out these apartments is a possibility. Maybe it's somewhere up north. Like I say, when they say stage for the police, they mean gate is closing soon. 9. I better get through it then. Like I say, when they say stage for the police, it means that you're going to be where you're going to sit and wait for them to call you in. Yep, KCFD. They took over the old massed ambulance. Sorry, I'm so busy at forgetting my manners. It's like, thanks for everyone who's participated tonight, keeping me company. Gets kind of lonesome out here. I only do this one night a week because, you know, bandwidth issues. And that I've picked, well, morning. I forget that I work the morning shift. So I picked Thursday morning, and the reason I picked Thursday morning is because that's the night of Hump Day. That's when supposedly the bars are still busy on, because you know technically it's Wednesday night and bar time. And if anything exciting is going to happen, it's going to happen on when, you know, the bars are closing. So in theory, that would be Thursday morning.
Car 108, over 16, over 44, 516, 929 degree, MVA 83. Car 108,
MVA.
over 16, over 44, 516, MVA 29, in Northwest Bear Creek, 83.
That's way the hell up there. But Point, if you're not familiar with the app. And hardly anybody does it. Kansas City Fire Department does it. Traffic pollution. So you can click on it, and this makes great audio, so nobody can see it. But you can go, click on it, navigate, open in Google Maps, which is what I use to navigate with, and go. And it'll take me right to a location, which is pretty cool. Don't usually check every act. Like I had one earlier and I didn't go to it. I just decided to wait for it and nothing ever came of it. I usually wait for like the second call on things. To see if people responding are actually seeing something, because like I say, you waste a lot of gas just driving around chasing after.
The 8633 Utopia apartment number 2 in contact with Maisha. Her mother, Deborah Smith, spoke out.
Shooting calls are different because you only hear them once. So you better go check them out. It's like fishing. You're not going to catch anything if you don't cast your pole in the water. Or playing the lottery. You're not going to win anything if you don't buy the ticket. But for the most part, it's a waste of time and money. And bait. So I'll continue listening to this, and it sounds like they're terminating. Which is probably just a fender bender. A lot of times on these shooting calls. Now that if later on, like by later on I mean like 3 hours from now, the public information officer for the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department says, yeah, we went out on a shooting and blah 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 blah, then we go and we might see some blinky lights or we might not. By then it's too late, you know. If you're wanting to get information directly from the police, you know, an officer talking on camera, that would be the PIO. It's a good thing it's not play very well in rush hour. Trust me. Jeez.